All right, I want to show you a couple examples of factor by grouping used on page 186. The biggest clue when you're doing factoring is the fact that you see 4 terms. Typically the factoring has 3 terms and then we do 2 parentheses to get the answer, or sometimes it has 2 terms, which is a difference of 2 squares. So if there's 4 things, chances are you have to do factor by grouping. And the first thing to try when you do factor by grouping is group z's by 2 z's. Group the first 2 and group the second 2 just by underlining them so you get a better view of them. Do these 2 have something in common? Yeah, they have a y. So if you factor out a y, you end up with y times x plus 3 for that group. Now you have to put a plus sign, and now let's do the next group. What do these 2 have in common? Or is there something that divides into both of them? Hopefully you notice they're both divisible by 2. So I'm going to factor out a 2, and when I do, what's left is 2x divided by 2 is x, 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now notice, I'm going to underline, I've got 2 groups again. I'm going to underline both groups. What do they both have in common? They both have an x plus 3, so factor that out. If you factor out the x plus 3 from each group, what do you have left? Y plus 2. And there is the final answer. And that's factor by grouping. Now, let's try it again. All right, underline the first group, underline the second group. In this group, there's nothing in common. So it looks like I have a bad choice here. In this group, I could factor out a 2, but it doesn't help me. When that happens, change the groups. So let's do this. 3xy minus 6x, and then minus 4 plus 2y. All right, let's underline the 2 groups. See if they have anything that can factor out. What can factor out of these 2? And take the most or the greatest common factor. They both divide by 3 and x. So 3x gets factored out, and what have I got left? Y here, and divide 3x here, I get 2. All right, what can I factor out of these 2? Let's put a plus. They both divide by 2, so I'm going to put a 2, and then I get minus 2. Minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. 2y divided by 2 is y, so minus 2 plus y. Now, I need to rewrite this one so that it looks a little bit better. So I have 3x times x minus 2 plus 2. You know what I'm going to rewrite there? Yeah. Oh, this is y minus 2. Be careful when you rewrite them. This one becomes y minus 2. I can just change the order of that. I didn't change any signs. I just put the y first and the minus 2 second. The reason I did that because now it's easier to see the common factor. What's common to both to this group and also common to this group? The y minus 2. So let's factor the y minus 2 out. So that means I divide the y minus 2 out of here. I divide it out of here. And what's left? 3x plus 2. So that's factor by grouping. There's one more factor by grouping. When group z's by 2 z's doesn't work, sometimes you have to do a group of 3. Let me clean my board and I'll do a couple more examples. Okay, here's an example where you have to do groups by 3's. If you try factoring groups of 2's, even though you can factor each part, you don't have a common factor in each group. So that means you have to group a group of 3. So I have a s squared and I have a 4s. So that's probably the group of 3, the s squared and the 4s with the 4. So here we're going to rewrite this as s squared minus 4s plus 4 minus 4t squared. Now here's a clue. That's a perfect square, 4t squared. So that factors, if I had something here, into a minus 2t and a plus 2t. So we're going with what can I do on this side here? And I notice that this is a trinomial, and it's a perfect square trinomial. So it factors into s minus 2 times s minus 2. So I'm going to write that as s minus 2 squared minus 4t squared. Now this is a difference of 2 squares. and I'm going to write it up here. Because I have a parenthesis involved, s minus 2 squared minus 4t squared, I usually do this in what I call a bracket problem. So we're going to put two brackets. A difference of two squares always factors into two equal parts, one with a plus and one with a minus. The 4t squared is 2t and 2t. That was a no-brainer part, right? And s minus 2 squared is easy. S minus 2 and s minus 2. Then what I do is I rewrite this. S minus 2 plus 2t and s minus 2 minus 2t. And there you go with your final answer. All right, here's another one. There's 4 parts, so I have to do group by 2s or group by 3s. If I do group by 2 here, I get x minus y, x plus y, difference of 2 squares, but it doesn't help me with that. So chances are I have to keep these 3 together. The problem is that's a minus, so let's rewrite this. X squared plus, and I have minus y squared plus 2y minus 1. That is kind of hard to factor. So then I think, hey, what if I multiply through with a minus 1? I can change all of those. And so I could put a minus 1 outside. So I'm going to rewrite that as x squared minus, and then call it y squared minus 2y plus 1. I'm going to do a double check here to make sure it's the original. All right, and this is what I started with. So if I distribute the minus 1, I get minus y squared plus 2y minus 1. So I did my rearranging properly. This factors. It's a perfect square trinomial, so it factors into y minus 1 times y minus 1. You with me on that? So now I'm going to rewrite. I'm going to rewrite this one as x squared minus y minus 1, the quantity squared. All right, bracket problem again. Bracket problem because I already have a parenthesis in the problem. Difference of 2 squares, so I have to have a plus and a minus. Factors of x squared, x times x. Factors of y minus 1 squared, y minus 1, y minus 1. All right, this one's a little tricky for the final answer. Do you notice why? All right, so the final answer on this part's easy. X plus y minus 1. Final answer on the next part, a little tricky. If you think you know how to do it, stop the video, try it first. All right, x minus y, I have to distribute that minus, plus 1, close parenthesis. Final answer. All right, good luck with these factor by grouping problems.